So, we're here to talk about Prowler.io. Tell us, what is this platform?
So we are the world's first principled AI decision-making platform. So obviously, what does that mean? So we use machine learning to understand, guide, and optimize millions of micro decisions in complex systems, and specifically complex and dynamic systems, like massively multiplayer online games, smart city simulations. And the key word here is principle, because what we are doing here is using interpretable principles of mathematics for learning and decision-making.
OK. So you've got some really interesting applications of it. So as you say, you've been using it in spaces such as smart cities, driverless cars, that sort of area
Yes,
as well?
smart cities, driverless cars are all the applications that we are working on. And all these have a very common element about them, that the environment in which they are operating is uncertain and dynamic by its very nature. So you have to have a probabilistic model of that environment. And also, it consists of millions of agents going around. So you have to have an ability to do decision-making in a principled way, and that means it has to be highly interpretable. So what you don't want to have a situation that all these cars, robotic arms are moving around in a city, and you don't know why these decisions are being made. What you don't want is a black box, and that's typically a problem with deep neural nets. So that's something that we don't do. So we focus on bringing the three fields of probabilistic modeling, principled learning, and game theory together, and we are the first company to do that.
OK. So you're a relatively young company. You were founded beginning of last year.
That's right.
And then you managed to raise funding in September of the same year. So that's quite a quick turnaround of being founded and then raising funding. Why do you think you were able to raise that capital in such a short space of time?
So I think one of the first things that we were very, like the benefits we had, that the founding team, we are not doing this for the first time. So we've been entrepreneurs before, and we've worked with startups before. And even better, we've been in the area of machine learning for some time. And when we looked at the area of machine learning, almost every other company out there was focusing on deep neural nets to solve perception problems, various kind of recognition problems. You know, like a dog is a dog, a cat is a cat, speech recognition, and so on. So that, we thought, was a fairly solved problem from a business perspective, and there wasn't anything new out there. So what was a completely wide open area, which we realized, was nobody was using machine learning for principled decision-making. And to be able to do that, it wasn't a trivial problem. We realized that you have to bring three branches of science together, which, until we started, were completely three different areas. Again, probabilistic modeling, principled learning, and game theory. They were so distinct that they had their separate conferences, separate parties, separate pubs. And it was interesting that we have a very experienced people in the case of probabilistic modeling who've been in the area of research and academia for 20 years. They had never met anybody from game theory in their entire life until they joined our company. So that really explains the disparity. But of course, when we were bringing all these people together, and the potential to solve the big problem attracted the investors. And hence, we were able to grow the team very quickly. We are 30 plus, over 20 are PhDs, and we are based in Cambridge.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. So you're based in Cambridge. Is the decision to set up there because you live there, or what was the reason for, I guess the question is, why didn't you set up in London?
Yeah, so fantastic question. So I don't believe that the people live in cities. They live with them. And there's a very clear distinction, because when you live with a city, it's a function of a very symbiotic relationship where you absorb the strengths and the beauty and the knowledge of that city. And Cambridge is filled with machine learning researchers and machine learning professors, so it wasn't a bad place to start. And again, it's not something very recent. For the past few hundred years, Cambridge has been the basis where the fundamental principles of mathematics that we use for our daily lives, for example, Newton's principia, which is essentially the principles of mathematics and natural theory, was started there. So you absolutely couldn't have a better place to start. And specifically as an entrepreneur and a CEO, the number of ideas that are almost like seeping through the walls of Cambridge, it's like being a kid in a candy shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have there been any other challenges of being based in Cambridge? So I know that in London there's a real kind of startup network and a real support network here. Have you ever felt that you're lacking that in any way in Cambridge?
No, we haven't, because I don't want to sound basically ageist here, but we guys do attract the kind of work that we are doing. We do attract a certain segment of people who are usually quite experienced,
Okay.
at least having anywhere between 10 to 25 years of experience in their various fields. And they are at a stage in their lives where they do prefer slightly more peaceful kind of environments, which
Okay.
Cambridge kind of does offer. Some have families, so it's got fantastic schools. And I read a very interesting stat somewhere. I'm not sure how true it is, but anyway, I'll say it out, that 43% of the population of Cambridge has a PhD.
Okay.
So you can't have a better place to start a machine learning startup.
So a great pool of talent to choose from there.
Absolutely.
And what about, you're saying that you've people of more advanced years joining your team. What about graduates? Would you say that there's a pool coming from the academic institutions that are based there, or do you lose a lot of those to elsewhere?
We do get a lot of fresh talent also. So the way we've actually balanced the team, and that I would advise anybody ever starting a startup, that first get your core leadership team in place. And by leadership team, I mean really experienced people who know how to build teams, right from different functions like engineering and quality and so on and so forth. So once we were able to build the core team in place, then we've started to get fresh talent out of Cambridge University. And one point I'd like to say that we've hired people from all over the world. So the first thing I did when we had the vision, myself with Dongo, to start this company, was literally go around the world and find the top people in each of these fields and convince them to move to Cambridge.
Okay.
So they are not just Cambridge people. We have people from every continent apart from Africa yet. And I'm looking forward to hiring my first employee from Africa.
So talent aside, what other challenges have you faced in creating the company?
That's a very good question. So the biggest challenge we face is the sheer amount of confusion around the field of AI. And that ranges on one end from hype and to the other end of the spectrum from paranoia.
Okay.
And one of the biggest challenges has been to explain to people that the hype created by deep neural nets, and somehow it seems to drive all the agenda. People seem to confuse AI with deep learning. Deep learning is just one very small corner of the entire spectrum of machine learning. And what we strongly believe, I mean, of course, deep learning is fantastic for a lot of applications, and it has shown us some benefits. But we strongly believe that the benefits you've seen of machine learning due to deep learning so far is just a trickle. The flood is still to come, and that flood will come when you start to see the benefits of using principled AI for decision making.
We're starting to run out of time here, so I'm going to ask you the question that I've been asking everyone else on the stage today. So we've got lots of entrepreneurs in the audience. What would be your main piece of advice to those setting up companies?
So I'd say three things. Number
I
one.
asked for one, but I'll let you have three.
Okay. So the first one is that aim high and aim best. There's lots of problems to solve in this world, and especially machine learning is starting to make it possible. The field of these problems is extremes, so go out and try to be the best at what you do. Second one, when you hire your partners or hire employees or find your partners, look for people who are better than you in everything that needs to be done. Because if they're not better than you, you might as well do that job yourself. Because your job as a CEO is really to create the right atmosphere for all these people to work together. And the last one is enjoy and have fun. That's key.
Brilliant. I think that's an excellent note to end on.